Hi students, welcome to our YouTube channel again. As our subscriber demand, today our topic of discussion is carbohydrates. Okay, so first of all, I am going to show you some key terms of that related topic, and then we will discuss some functions of carbohydrates, and then we will learn in detail about the mechanisms and the classifications of carbohydrates and also like the reactions of all carbohydrates in details. Okay, so now we are going to start the key terms of carbohydrate. First of all, as we know that the carbohydrates are most abundant organic molecule in nature. Okay, so we have to remember that. The second one here I am going to show you that is composed of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. As we know that like the carbohydrate contain carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, we will discuss in detail like when we do the mechanisms and all the formulas. Okay, now the next one, the word or the name carbohydrate literally means hydrates of carbon. Remember that hydrates of carbon means like the carbon contain like the water molecules. Okay, like the hydrates of carbon. Okay, next, like the carbohydrate arises from basic formula that is C dot H2O, where N is should be equal to 3 or more. Okay, remember that during this where N is equal to 3 or greater than 4, it's satisfying that these carbohydrates are in fact of carbohydrates. Okay, however, there are several non-carbohydrate compounds like acetic acid, lactic acid, which also appear as hydrates of carbon. So remember that these are not carbohydrates. Okay, because when we discuss the formula is also like that. For example, here the acetic acid is C2H4O2. Okay, while the lactic acid, here I am going to show you, the lactic acid is C3 and H6O3. Okay, but remember that these are not carbohydrates. So that's why we said here that the carbohydrates where N is equal to 3 or more than 3. Okay, the last one, the key term, the very important, we have to remember that the some carbohydrates like the genuine carbohydrates like here is rhaminohexose and deoxyribose do not satisfy the general formula, because for example in case of rhaminohexose like that equal to C6, the formula that is C6H12O5. Okay, so that is not like the actual formula, that is not like the hydrates of carbon. Okay, where like the deoxyribose that equal to C5H10O4, that also like that do not satisfy the general formula. Okay, so hence carbohydrates cannot be always considered as hydrates of carbon. Remember that. Okay, now we are going to move the definition. The definition of the carbohydrates may be defined as polyhydroxyaldehyde or ketones are compounds which produce them on hydrolysis. So that is very important. We will discuss in detail when we prepare the carbohydrate and when we react the carbohydrate, so actually that is maybe defined as polyhydroxyaldehyde, maybe polyhydroxyaldehyde or maybe polyhydroxyketones are the compounds which produce them on the hydrolysis. Okay, like the term sugar is applied to the carbohydrate soluble in water and sweet to taste. Okay, now the next one, functions. So here I am going to show you like some important functions of carbohydrates. So the first one, that the carbohydrates are abundant dietary source of energy for all organism, because we know that about 4 calories per gram, that is like the source of energy for all organisms. The next one is precursor for many organic compounds like fats and amino acids. Like you know that precursors means they are you can say they help in the formation of fats and amino acids. Okay, because you know that the amino acids and the fats having a building blocks of carbohydrates. The next one, that is the part like the carbohydrates participate in the structure of cell membrane and cell function, because we know that in the structural point of view, glycoprotein glycoprotein and the glycolipids, they participate in the structure of cell membrane and the cell like the functions, like cell functions means participate in the growth. Okay, next one, that is, yes, here we will discuss like in detail when we participate in the structure of cell membrane and cell function, and also we discussed here like we can merge the other functions like the structural components of many organisms, like these includes of fibers like cellulose of plants. Okay, cellulose of plants, and also the according to structural point of view, like the exoskeleton of some insects, like exoskeleton of some insects, and the cell wall. Okay, cell wall of the microorganisms, so it means where they participate in the like the structure of in the, you can say they are the structural components of many organisms. Okay, so you can like give the headings, these are the structural components. Okay, now here we are going to classifying the carbohydrates. Remember that the carbohydrates are often referred to as saccharides, so they are actually referred to as saccharides. And remember, the saccharide is like a Greek word, and the meaning of saccharides is sugar. Okay, so remember they are broadly classified into 3 categories or 3 groups. I am going to show you here. These 3 groups are, the first group of the carbohydrate, that is known as monosaccharides. Okay, the second group of the carbohydrate, that is known as oligosaccharides. while the third group of the carbohydrate, that is known as polysaccharides, okay, these are the broadly three major groups of like the carbohydrates, okay, and these groups are classifying based on the number of sugar units. So these are classifying based on number of sugar units, okay. Now, like mono and oligosaccharides are sweet to taste. It means the first two group here, these are monosaccharides and oligosaccharides, like the property that is sweet to taste. The second one, that is soluble in water, soluble in water, and the third one, that have crystalline in character. So character is crystalline. Okay, and hence they are commonly known as sugar. Okay, so remember, these are some general keywords you have to remember about the classification. Now we are going to discuss the first one group of the carbohydrate, that is monosaccharides. Okay, monosaccharides. Remember, mono mean one, and the saccharides, as I already discussed, the saccharide means sugar. So it means monosaccharides are the simplest group of the carbohydrate, are often referred to as simple sugar. Okay, and you know, like the general formula of the monosaccharides, that should be CN H2O N, because these are the hydrates of carbon, and they cannot be further hydrolyzed. So remember the next one, that cannot be further hydrolyzed. Why? Because you know, these are the simplest sugar. Okay, next, like they can be categorized into different categories. Again, they can be, like you can say, divided into different categories. For example, based on the number of carbon atoms and based on the functional groups. So you have to say based on functional groups and the number of carbon atoms, they can be divided into different categories. For example, the first one I am going to show you, that is aldosis. Okay, aldosis, and we can categorize into other group that can be ketosis. Okay, like in case of aldosis, as you know that the ald means the functional group in the monosaccharides is an aldehyde. So it means here the functional group is aldehyde. Okay, and you know that aldehyde means C, and here is any R group. Okay, so while in case of ketosis, so you know that the ketosis, like the word keto means the functional group should be ketone. So here the functional group is ketone, and you know that like ketone means ROR, it means here. Okay, and for example aldosis, the best example of the aldosis, that is glyceraldehyde. Here is glyceraldehyde, while and the second one glucose. Okay, and in case of ketosis, so you know that ketosis means the ketone. So ketone, the best example of the monosaccharide, that is fructose, and the second one you can write dihydroxyacetone. Okay, like we will discuss about the structure in detail of these compounds. Okay, so based on the number of carbon atoms, the monosaccharides, like here we classified according to the functional groups aldosis and ketosis, and based on the number of carbon atoms we can divide the monosaccharides as like 3C, 4C, 5C, 6C and 7C, like the division based on carbon atoms. Okay, for example here it should be, the number should be at least 3, so we are going to start from 3, like 3 carbons, 4 carbons, 5 carbons, 6 carbons and 7 carbons. Okay, so remember like the word, it should be osis, it mean like the 3 carbon, as you know that 3 means tri, so here it will be triosis. Okay, 4 mean here is tetrosis, 5 mean pentosis, and 6 mean hexosis, and the 7 mean heptosis. Okay, so these terms along with the functional group that we already discussed are used while naming monosaccharides. Like for example like glucose contain 6 carbon, glucose, and also we know that the glucose also contain the functional group that is aldose or aldehyde. Okay, so it means here we can write the name of glucose, that is aldohexose. Aldohexose. Hexose, why? Because of 6 carbons. And same for, like, you can say fructose. So fructose also contains 6 carbon, but the fructose having the functional group that is ketone or ketose. So the name should be, for the fructose, that should be ketohexose. Okay, we will discuss like this these structures, glucose and fructose, in detail in the next, like the terms and next lectures. Okay, so remember, these are the some key factors and the important things related to monosaccharides. So here you can see. Okay students, so now we are going to discuss the next one, the group of the carbohydrate, that is oligosaccharides. Okay, oligo mean few, remember, just like mono mean one and oligo mean few. Okay, and saccharides, as we know that saccharides means like the sugar units, so that contain about 2 to 10 monosaccharides. Okay, like 2 to 10 monosaccharides combine, and like for example, if the two monosaccharide unit that combine to make oligosaccharide, okay, so there should be, like, oligosaccharides contain 2 to 10 monosaccharide molecule which are liberated on hydrolysis. Okay, hydrolysis. Okay, as you know, hydrolysis mean the evolvement of water molecule, okay, at the breakdown. So here, based on the number of monosaccharides unit present in the oligosaccharides are further categorized into different types, okay, or further divided into different categories. For example, they can be like classified or subdivided to disaccharides according to number of molecules. Okay, di means two. Okay, di, like the saccharides, and if that contain three carb, like the monosaccharides molecule, so that can be classified as trisaccharides. Okay, and so on according to the number of molecules of monosaccharides. Okay, so that is information about the oligosaccharides. We will discuss in detail, okay, about the according to structural point of view. Now the next one, the major group, the third one, that is known as polysaccharides. Okay, according to polysaccharides, poly mean, as you know, that means many, and saccharides mean the unit, so it means like that contain, or in other way or in other sense you can say that the polysaccharides are the polymers of monosaccharides. Polymers of monosaccharides. Okay, like polymers of monosaccharide unit with, when they are combined and make a large molecule, so it means that contain, or that having a high molecular weight. okay, like up to millions. There are usually polysaccharides are usually tasteless, because if you see here, as we discussed earlier, here you can see monosaccharides and oligosaccharides have sweet to taste, soluble in water and crystalline in character, okay. And in case of polysaccharides, so polysaccharides mean they are tasteless, okay. And like for example, that can be said that are non-sugar, okay, and form colloids with water, not soluble in water, it will form colloids with water, okay. And remember, the polysaccharides are two types. The polysaccharides are classified into, are subdivided into two categories. These are homo like homopolysaccharides, and the second one category, that is heteropolysaccharides, okay. So these are the some basic information, that is some basic information regarding to the like carbohydrates groups, like monosaccharides, oligosaccharides and polysaccharides, okay. And the next topic, that is very important topic, like we are going to discuss the monosaccharides, like I'm going to show you here monosaccharides in terms of structural aspects, okay. And in this topic we will learn about the stereoisomerism, okay, stereoisomerisms of the monosaccharides. And we also discussed here in the different types of like D isomers, L isomers, okay. And we will also discuss here optical activity, okay. And like we will discuss configuration of the monosaccharides in enantiomers and the structure of glucose, okay, in our next video. So if you like our video, then kindly subscribe and please don't miss the another video. We will upload the next like these topics in the next video, okay. So take care a lot and we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.